It is 6:40, and we want to welcome everybody to this program. This is part of the Black History celebration programming we've done this semester in collaboration with Black Student Council. And we have a really informative and great evening in store for you guys. We've got some great alumni, and for those that were at the last professional panel we did last year, you're in for a treat. Just want to give you a couple of little housekeeping things. Please, everyone, make sure you have your screen on, you're visible, you have your name on there. If you ask a question, that allows the speakers to engage with you because they're here to engage with you. Also, if you're driving or somewhere in transit, then we'll give you a few minutes to get into a secure, safe place. After that, we'll have to remove you from the session because we don't want you to be distracted while driving. Now, there will be opportunity for Q&A at the end. And also, if you have a question, Martha will be looking at the chat room, and you can put a message in the chat, or you can send it directly to Martha, and we'll try to get that to the moderator. And I know our moderator will also be looking at the chat as well. But if we don't get to your question while we're going through the questions we have for them, we'll get to that at the end of the Q&A. So we have 4 key questions we're going to be asking our panelists to address this evening. Okay, so again, this is our Black History Celebration virtual professional panel presented by Black Student Council and the Office of Multicultural Initiatives, Student Leadership, and Inclusive Excellence. I'm going to give an opportunity for a couple of our senior administrators to give a welcome, but before I do that, I want to make sure Darren Russell is our president of our Black Student Council, and I want to give him an opportunity to kind of say hello to everyone. And I'm very proud of Black Student Council this year and the work that they've done in putting together a number of great events. So we can spotlight Darren. And again, we're going to be spotlighting these speakers. So if you go into speaker view, then you'll be able to see that speaker. So take about 2 seconds now, look at everybody that's in here, smile around and get nosy, and then go back into the speaker view so you can get the best experience out of this presentation. Because I can see him, but if you're looking at 97 people, you might not be able to see him unless you're in speaker view. So President Russell, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you to give a welcome, and then we'll hear, after him, we'll hear from President Jackson, and then we'll hear from our Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Don Robinson.
All right, so hey everybody, my name is Darren Russell. I am the current Black Student Council president, and I'll keep it short. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I just want to thank everybody for showing your support. I also want to thank everyone for showing your support throughout the entire month, actually, and coming out to our events and coming to our co-sponsored events. So it really means a lot. This is how things get solved. This is how things change whenever we come together. So we plan to continue to have events like this. If you have any suggestions, you can shoot us an email at msu.bsc, and we'll be more than welcome to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you, and let's get started.
All right, thank you, sir. President Russell and Dr. Carthel and Dr. Robertson, Dr. Alicia Carthel, thank you all for putting this program together. And for the last several months, we've had some really wonderful discussions, grand conversations, as Dr. SG has called them. You know, these are opportunities to have some very deep discussions and to learn more about one another. And tonight, we're going to talk about diversity and professionalism. And we're blessed at Murray State. We have a deep and rich history and more than 75,000 alumni all over the world. And tonight, some of our most prominent alumni are here with us in this panel. And I know they're looking forward to speaking to you, but also this is an opportunity for all of us to learn a little bit more about diversity and professionalism in the workplace. And Dr. Carthel, again, I want to thank you. The last many months, we've had some really excellent programs. And this has been a wonderful opportunity for everyone. And I just want to thank you in front of everyone. We've got Regent Leon Owens. Today we had a very important board meeting. I want to thank him and recognize him for his work. But it's good to see everyone, and thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to echo again what Dr. Jackson has said. I want to welcome everyone and thank you for participating in this evening's program. We have been very fortunate at Murray State University to have an outstanding series of programs during this past month. We've celebrated Black History Month, and I also want to thank Dr. Carthel, the Multicultural Initiatives, the Black Student Council for their leadership in putting together a series of programs that I think would rival any programs any university anywhere would be presenting during this very, very important month. Certainly want to welcome our panel, our distinguished panel. Particularly want to thank our young alumni, recent graduates for agreeing to participate in this. And I really just want to sit back and learn from these experts. And so I know you didn't come to hear me speak. You want to hear from these panelists. So thank you for being here, and we're going to have a great evening.
So this time I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Alicia Carthel. She is assistant professor in English in Department of English and Philosophy, and also an OMI faculty liaison. She's probably no stranger to many of you. And she's going to be our moderator for today's session. And so at this time, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Alicia.
So good evening, everyone. So I'd like the panelists to go ahead, and if you can introduce yourselves, give us a brief introduction. We'll go in alphabetical order as listed on the screen.
Okay. Hey everyone, my name is Ife. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I started my undergrad at Murray State University with a bachelor's in economics and a finance concentration. And I did the same for my master's, and I just graduated May 2020. And currently I just started working at Humana as a risk professional. Happy to be here.
Good afternoon, Dr. Alicia Carthel and Dr. S.G. Carthel. I'm very happy to be a part of this panel. My name is Arthur Boykin, and I graduated from a school not far from Murray State. My undergraduate degree is from the University of Tennessee, Martin. My master's is from the Stafford War College out of Leavenworth, Kansas. I'm looking forward to this panel and an opportunity to share with some of the young people that may be here what has brought me through what is being now a 45-year career. So thank you again for this opportunity, and I'm very appreciative.
Hi, everyone. My name is Imani Oliver. I attended Murray State from 2015 to 2019. I graduated with a bachelor's in chemistry and math, and I had a minor in finance. I'm from St. Louis, but I currently live in Dallas, Texas. I work at AT&T as a senior financial analyst. I've been with them for going on 2 years now, actually. So I also was a full Mill Scholar the entire time I was at Murray State. So the programs that you guys are doing, I had to do them as well. And yeah, just thank you for having me. And I'm excited to share my experiences with you guys.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leon Owens, and to Dr. S.G. Carthel, Dr. Alicia Carthel, President Russell, President Jackson, Vice President Robertson. I'm just so proud to be included with this distinguished list of panelists and look forward to this evening. I work for a company that is a small business government contractor, and we're headquartered in Paducah, Kentucky, and I'm an MBA graduate of Murray State University. Thank you.
I am Jocelyn Wimberly. Hi, everyone. I am a recent Murray State graduate, well, actually 2018, where I graduated with my bachelor's in communication disorders. I moved to Miami University, where I got my master's in student affairs and higher education, which basically means that I love to empower and engage with students who are in college at the moment. So ask me all the things, I know some things, good times. I was also a recipient of the Marvin D. Mills Scholarship. And so, like Imani said, all of the things that y'all have to go through right now, we've been there, we've done that. But I'm really interested to know, where you all are going with your career journey and how we can be of any assistance to that. So yeah, happy to be here.
First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jackson, Dr. Robertson, Drs. Cartel as well as Regent Owens. Again, my name is Charlie Sanders, and I'm blessed and honored to be with you tonight and to serve with you with this group of distinguished panelists. Just a little bit about myself briefly. I graduated of Murray State University, and also I have my master's in strategic studies from the United States Army War College, and also working on finishing my master's of divinity. Retired Army Colonel, 30 years, active as well as reserve time in the United States Army. And currently, I work for a company by the name of Ancilla Services in Northern Virginia, where I get an opportunity to serve as a senior consultant for the Department of the Navy. And I always say that God has a great sense of humor for allowing a mean old Army guy to go and work for the Navy when he retires. So blessed to be with you all tonight and excited about this opportunity to serve and share with such a great group. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here tonight.
And I want to say real quick, I'm going to interject. You won't hear it again from me till the end, but we got two colonels on here tonight. That's great. Arthur Boykin is also colonel in the Army, I believe. So that's wonderful. That's just so you guys know, we got the top brass in here from the military too. So thank you.
I guess we'll go ahead and get started. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. First question. How does your organization ensure that employees feel included in your work environment? How does your organization value diversity? So panelists, if you can unmute and jump on in. How does your organization ensure that employees feel included in their work environment? How do they value diversity?
All right. Well, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and take a stab at it. Let me just say it this way from two perspectives. One, the military, that's near and dear to my heart, celebrates diversity on many different levels. I've had the privilege to have bosses that were of different ethnic groups and different ethnicities, and that was great for me. Great exposure to work with different people groups, and also to celebrate the differences that everyone brings to the different organization and to the table, because of their different backgrounds and their varying backgrounds. So it's kind of an amalgamation of all these great cultures, and you get a chance to serve with them. So one, I would say that the military gives you that privilege to work with people, and we do celebrate diversity. Are there some other opportunities to excel? Of course, there's still some growth that can be there in all of the branches of the armed forces, but I will say that we do celebrate a lot of diversity. And then in my current position, I'll say that we do as well. I work with a smaller company, and we have ladies and gentlemen from all over the globe. We have one of my colleagues, Mr. Joseph Akinafisi, who just happens to be Nigerian, and a really sharp colleague of mine, and just a great guy, and several other people from the other African countries as well that work in our organization. So again, I think our company celebrates from the military perspective, as well as the company that I work with now. And I'm very appreciative for their excellence in diversity.
If I could go next. So I'm still new to Jimenez, and I'm learning about the company culture, but so far I can tell already there's a huge push for being in different network resource groups. So that's what they call them. And there's one for the Black associates. There's one for all generations. There's one for women. So they push networking and meeting with those people. And I think that's one of the ways that they value diversity. They also, for Black History Month, had some programs. Of course, everything is online, work from home. They have an allied conversation. They have a radio station where they speak with Black associates. So just coming in, I can already tell that is something that's important to them. So that's how I feel they do that.
Yeah, and to kind of go off what Ife said, my job as well, they have employee resource groups and network groups for different backgrounds. So there's a group for African Americans, there's a group for Asians, there's a group for millennials. Like there's just different groups just to show how much they value us all. And you can see in our leadership, there are a lot of people that look like me. There are Black women, there are Black men, just that, you can see them moving up the ladder. And so they just show that they really are pushing for us to have a diverse company culture. And I'm new as well, so I'm still seeing how everything is working, but it's pretty clear. And I think AT&T has also won a few awards for their push for diversity and inclusion. So, yeah.
With the organization that I'm with, currently, which is Paducah Transit Authority, we let employees have buy-in. I've always found that if they, excuse the broad analogy, but if they feel that they've got skin in the game, that helps to certainly make them feel as though they're included. There are times when you afford them, it's a bottoms up decision-making process. And I found out that I know what the mission is, I know where to get them there, but if they feel that they're leading it, that certainly allows them to buy in to that. As it relates to diversity, with Title VI in the current program that I'm in, I try to make sure that the organization looks like the community in which I'm working. And so if females, Hispanics, what have you, I run a census of the community and just try to ensure that my workforce or the workforce there pretty much exemplifies the community.
Our company is a small business government contractor, and of course, I'm going to take a little different approach. We are mandated to ensure by the federal government, since we receive funding from the federal government, that we are diverse. That doesn't always mean that in actuality that's the case. And oftentimes it's more of a struggle for us, because this climate that we're in, this government contracting arena, has typically not been what you would consider diverse. So that is something that we have taken on as not just a challenge, but that's something that we've taken on to try and ensure that there are more people that look like me included in our organization. From the standpoint of valuing diversity, yes, we check a box that says that we value diversity, but as you all know, the practice, it shouldn't be a box that you check. It should be a way, a culture, a way of life, a way of doing business. And so that's something that we have we've come a distance, but we're not where we need to be. And so that's something that we strive to do each and every time that we have a hire. I think too, as we go through this discussion, oftentimes companies will post for positions and they'll post for qualifications for those positions. And I know we'll get into this further down in the questions that we'll answer. But what we have tried to do is two people can be qualified, but if you meet the minimum qualifications, if you're a person of color, then we try our best not to show favoritism, not to give them a leg up over someone that's not a person of color, but at least that is a way that we can ensure that we're being overall receptive, not just to individuals, but receptive, and that makes the organization better.
My answer is really similar to Mr. Owens, and the fact that I work for a nonprofit, so which means that we're federally funded also, which puts a lot of pressure to be diverse and have a diverse staff. Please excuse my dogs, they love Zoom. But we push to have diverse staff also. But one of the things that they took a little bit more seriously during the wake of George Floyd and during the wake of the BLM movement of the summer was initiating a diversity and inclusion task force. And so it's not just an organization where we can just like say things and like want to do things, but they took it a little bit more seriously. And so during my time, which has been very brief, I've been able to develop our D&I mission. I've been able to develop our D&I vision. And I've been able to say like, hey, from a standpoint of someone else who's worked in D&I in a different organization, these are some things that we can work on. And so I think that they've been really good about valuing diversity, but also being open to seeing this is where we lack and this is where we can grow and this is where we're doing good. Our company also has affinity groups like Imani and Ife said, and so they are really heavy on like listening to people, and now they're wanting to put these things into practice.
Thank you. So next question, for those of you who can speak to this, What is different now than before COVID-19 as it relates to how organizations are hiring? What are they looking for?
Well, Dr. Alicia, I'll start. I think from the standpoint of our business and COVID-19, I always drop my head when I say this, but for us, there's been no change. For the most part, we're still looking for qualified candidates. We're still looking for individuals that can come in and they have already developed what are considered the soft skills. They understand what it means to come in. We intend to train them. We'll train them. And what's important is for you to have a positive attitude. Now, the employees that work for our company during the COVID time, the majority of them that were not able to telework, they were paid to stay at home. And you might think, oh my gosh, but yes, that was the case because the actual work that needed to be performed, they were unable to do that. So they were paid by the government to stay at home. But we're still looking for the same type of individual post-COVID as we did pre-COVID. Someone that has a positive attitude, someone who is willing and able to adapt to a changing culture, and then also someone who is committed to understanding what it means to be at work on time, understanding what it means to be cordial, understanding what it means to work with individuals who don't look like you. And just because you might not be able to relate to them when you're at work during the 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever that period of time might be, you have to find a way to be able to interact with them to improve the organization and move it forward.
I kind of echo what Regent Owens was stating. He iterated that and stated that so well, is that even in the midst of this COVID environment and somewhat of a constrained environment, if you will, companies are still looking for bright, sharp people that want to come in with a great attitude and execute with excellence. I just tell you, my boss asked me, do you know any sharp people? I mean, he asked me, and then I get a chance to go out and recruit some really sharp folks to bring them in our organization. And he's looking for diversity. And that's just exciting. And I want to give you some words of hope and encouragement. Yes, the market is looking for bright, sharp people that want to come in. I call it 3 E's. You know, you got to be engaged. You know, you really got to be engaged with your profession. You show your professionalism. You don't get a second chance at a first impression. From the day you get in the door, seize the moment. I say carpe diem, seize the moment, seize the day. And I'm like that in the military as well as the civilian side of the house. You got to execute. You got to be engaged, and you got to be excited about what you do. Have a great attitude. Bring that energy to the workforce, and then you want to strive for excellence. Too much mediocrity, and you got to strive for excellence. Let me just say one other quick thing, and I'll be quiet. When we talk about communicative skills or communicative skills or the ability to communicate, it's so important. It's paramount that you develop good communicative skills, i.e. good eye contact, right? Practicing good eye contact, practicing good diction in English, right? Articulating well. You want to be able to do that. Let's just say you got a professional presentation, practice, practice, practice. You got to stand up and brief and present in front of people, practice in the mirror, practice your diction, body language. Those things are so important. In the military, we do a lot of that, briefing and presentations, and they groom you to do that. So if you have a hard time with public speaking, practice, practice, practice. And when you get your chance to do your presentation, use the 3 B's. Be brilliant, be brief, and be gone. All right, I've said enough.
Thank you, Colonel Sanders. Would anyone else like to address this question?
I would like to jump in just for a moment. I know that, we are older individuals, and quite a few of those listening are young. I want to share this with you because it impacts the co-workers that I can hire. I know that it impacts the ones that Mr. Owens can hire as well. The biggest thing right now, young panelists or those that are listening, is this. School is gone. School is behind you. The things that you do now will impact you the rest of your life. And I say that because one of the first things that we're looking for co-workers is this: can you pass a pre-employment screen in terms of a background check? I mean, and the second thing that I tell, whether I don't get into life, but employers now, it's very big. can you pass my post-employment drug test? I mean, I'll just throw that out to you because quite often, you know, I may have gone out with my buddies on Fridays and had fun, and you're going in for a job. And, you know, those kind of things impact you. And there are certain ones, and I think Mr. Owens will echo this. There are certain, I mean, there's sometimes people come and say, look, I'm sorry, I've got a felony. I just checked the box. I can't employ you. It's just a fact. I cannot employ you. And so I'm going to say, be cognizant now when you're leaving school. I mean, when you're young, there are some things that are forgettable, but as you mature and you get older, they do impact you. So I want to share that with them.
So next question, please. How can I prepare myself for the new normal of the workplace? So can you address?
Jump in there.
No.
There is no new normality. The one thing about new now is that it's going to be a constant and continuous change. So if you're looking for normal, what was normal today won't be there tomorrow. And you can rest assured. So you've got to accept the fact that, as it says, the one thing about life is the constant of change. So that if you're looking for something to be that normal, it's not going to be there.
I can add to that as, you know, someone who is starting, you know, working from home fresh out of school. It is very interesting, but, you know, Humana is very accommodating, so they'll send everything that I need. But another thing that helps me prepare is I have my workspace away from, you know, my room where I'd be sleeping, away from any distractions and such. And for me, getting up in the morning and early and getting dressed like I'm actually physically going there, that also gives me, okay, you're at work, you have to do X, Y, and Z, you know, before the day is over. So, and I do agree this new normal, quote unquote, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. You know, companies are having conversations about, you know, how much money are we saving since people are at home, and do they really want to take up that cost again? So I think it would be worthwhile to just get adjusted and acclimated to this new normal workspace. So.
Okay, no, so for me, so when I first started with AT&T, we were in the office, and then, because I started in 2019, and then COVID happened in the beginning of 2020. So I've actually been working from home longer than I was in the office. So that was definitely an adjustment for me. But like Ife said, if you keep yourself on a schedule, like if you get up early, or even if you don't fully get dressed, just making a habit out of waking up early, or you know, deciding what you're going to work on the next day, or just keeping yourself at a timely schedule will definitely help you to adjust at work from home, because it is weird. It was very weird for me at first. I was like, okay, I just thought I'm gonna be lazy. I'm probably not gonna get a lot of stuff done. But once I kept myself on a schedule, I was able to kind of get back into how I was when I was actually going in the office. So they told us that we might be going back in this summer, but at this point, you just kind of never really know. It could be next year, but as long as you can adjust and make yourself comfortable and, you know, figure out a routine for yourself, you'll be okay. For me, at least.
Yeah, and I was gonna say kind of the same thing that Ife said about separating your workspace from where you are like every day. So this is a completely separate room from the rest of my house, and so this is where I come specifically to do work. And I think that an advantage that you all have right now is that you're doing school remote and in person also, and so you can start kind of practicing right now what you're going to do when you go into that workforce. And so not to call anybody out, but I did like see like some of y'all are like in the bed, and so like if that's how you do work, like now, like that's kind of how you're gonna do it when you get into the workplace. And I only say that because I do presentations with college students, and so right now in this moment, I tell them like, hey, you can't be in the bed because I actually need you like focused on me, and it's because I know me and I know how people operate. And so like Colonel Boykin said, like this isn't a new normal. Like it's all about being flexible and being able to manage the different curves that we're getting thrown every single day. And so as long as you're on top of you, there's like nothing that can shake you really. So yeah.
I would just like to add, whether it's a Zoom call or WebEx or some other type of medium, it's very important for you to understand and practice the rules relative to that medium. And as each of you just mentioned, when we have Zoom calls, we do have some individuals who are continuing to telework, and it's not acceptable to be comfortable at home where you have all types of distractions, and then individuals don't understand what the mute button is, and they're unable to effectively mute or unmute. All those things are distractions, and please be mindful again of the etiquette for telework. And I think for us, at some point in time, the CARES Act has provided additional funding for individuals who have declared themselves at high risk, and they've received a benefit to be at home. But that, as of right now, is ending the end of March. And so we're going to expect all of those individuals, and we'll send them a letter stating, unless they have some type of certification from their doctor that will allow them to go on one of the disability options, we will expect them to report to work. And then if they're unable to report to work and they are not able to provide any type of certification, then there's going to be another option that's not good for them. And we're basically going to say your job is at this facility. And if you're not able to come in, then the other option is termination. But the point being, there's a process and a protocol for Zoom calls when you're teleworking, just like there's a process and a protocol when you're actually in office space. And I think it's important for us to be mindful of that.
I'd like to add just one other quick thing too, just to kind of just throw this out for encouragement to a lot of our young people that are out there. When you graduate from college, you go into an organization, and we talk about this workplace. I want to encourage you, when you first get to your new employment, listen a lot. Listen a lot. Become a good listener. Listen twice as much as you talk, because everybody will know you're new, and it's okay. We've all been there. Once we graduate, got a little piece of paper in our hand, and we're excited and want to go in and do well. When you first get there, your opinion is important, but remember that you're there to be trained and you're there to learn first. So be a really good listener. Take really good, copious notes, okay? And show respect to those that are there, that have been there, that are traveling, that have traveled there. And look for a good mentor, right? Yeah, look for good mentors that are willing to take you in and invest and pour into your life. And not only do I encourage you to seek mentorship, but also be a good mentor. It's about giving, it's about ministering, it's about helping other people. And the more you give, it's amazing how it works for the betterment of the organization. Because I actively mentor military and non-military people, as well as civilians and so on and so forth. And I tell you, it's a priceless opportunity. And I am mentored as well. I have some great colleagues that take time to pour into my life. So I want to encourage you. Mentorship is so important, especially when you're new in your profession. You need to get on the coattails of somebody that's been there for a while, who understands the bureaucracy of the workplace. They understand etiquette, as Brother Owens mentioned. That's important. That's paramount that you understand that, and the group dynamics when you're dealing with your fellow colleagues at your level and higher and lower as subordinates as well. All right, I'll be quiet now. Just want to give you that.
Thank you. And before we get to our last question, I just want to remind students, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat. We're going to be asking the final question here. So panelists, what final advice would you give to students who will soon be aspiring young professionals? So what advice would you give to our students who, some of them on here might be graduating this year, maybe even next year?
I can start this one. So what I would say, my experiences for me, both in undergrad as a full Mills and as a graduate fellow for 2 years, I am like pulling from that, what I learned in those experiences every day at work. I was, during the interview process, I was mentioning things that I had done in the past. And even though those things were, things that I didn't want to do at the time, I'm very grateful that I did them now because they're helping me do what I need to do. So my advice to students would be to get involved in the office. That's the best way I can put it. This office has helped me in many, many ways. I would suggest that you, be as involved, talk to the graduate fellows, talk to Dr. Carthel. And because for me, those experiences have helped me and they're going to continue helping me. So that would be my advice to you.
I guess I'll jump in. I've as Dr. SG gave us the various questions, I had a chance to jot just a few things down, and I'll be as brief as possible. But the first thing that I would say to you is prayer is very important. And the reason that I say prayer is important is regardless of the occupation that you go in, it's important for you to have discernment. And Pastor Sanders I know he will jump all over that, but discernment is very important to allow you to understand, not that you don't know right from wrong, but it will help you within that organization to figure out the direction that you need to go in. And there will be individuals, we'll just be upfront, there are individuals that you don't need to be around. There will be individuals who will resent you, not just because of your education, but you all aren't naive. They'll resent you because of your color. And that discernment will allow you to navigate through those waters. And that's the first thing. Then preparation. You need to learn everything that you possibly can learn, regardless if it's in the particular group that you're working in or not. Learn all that you can about your occupation, about your profession. And then patience. Patience, the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting upset or angry. It's very important because oftentimes now we're in a society where we want instant gratification. We want to work for 6 months or a year. I've seen this. And then after that 6 months or a year, we think that we should go from an entry-level position to a senior level position with the pay and the responsibility that goes along with it. And it doesn't work that way. I've been working for this particular company for 15 years, and it's a progression. Each step of the way, you add to your toolkit, you add to your toolbox, and you gain those skills that are necessary for you to ultimately ascend to that level, and then you will be prepared. Performance. You have to be able to perform. It's not based on your looks. It's not based on your intelligence. It's not based on who you know. You have to be able to perform once you get your job. You have to do as Pastor Sanders said, you need to have a mentor. You need to have multiple mentors. You need to have people that can help you navigate through. Perseverance. That's when you continue doing something regardless that you don't receive the success that you think you should, but you have to persevere. You have to continue grinding it out, doing it day in and day out. And then lastly, people. Everything is about relationships. It's all about how you relate to other people, regardless if they like you or not. You have to find a way, you have to find some common ground, because ultimately that particular individual that might be a hindrance for you, that might be the individual that you can glean information from and that you can glean knowledge from that will allow you then to go from point A to point B within an organization.
Not in a numerical order of importance, but if I could say this to the students that are on, having matriculated there, Murray, you have already shown that you have perseverance. You've shown that you can learn already. So what I'm going to say is this: is don't be afraid to challenge yourself. I heard one of the young ladies says that She was a chemistry major. Yes, so was I. Headed off to pre-med school, didn't make it. But you can use that as a platform, and I'm saying that to say, learn from your failures. You will have them. Learn from your failures. As a constructive criticism, use it as a learning tool. Okay, and here's the thing. Understand your area of responsibility, but know this: when you get assignments that you may feel that's not for me, knowledge obtained will benefit you later. So learn as much as you can. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this. My mother told me, and it's never, I think Mr. Owens was saying the same thing. I call it the golden rule. Treat people like you want them to treat you. And sometimes that's telling them when they've done some wrong, but if you do it in a loving manner, it's going to be accepted. Always remember, treat them as though as you would want to be treated. And I assure you that will carry you a long way.
Thank you.
I can add to that. I would say treat people the way they want to be treated also. Someone taught me that they have the gold rule and the platinum rule, and the platinum rule is treat people the way that they want to be treated. And again, no particular order, but while you're still here and you're still learning and you still have room to make mistakes, maximize these opportunities that you have. I know that we're speaking to some freshmen, some sophomores, some juniors, and some seniors. And so while you still have time to maximize these opportunities, do that. Go and learn as much as you can, do as much as you can, and then learn how to communicate those opportunities. And so when you're developing your professional documents, making sure that you can say, this organization changed because I was able to give this to it, or this position was able to evolve because I was able to do this. And being able to know that you can communicate that in a job interview and on your document, so that, you know, your resume gets you half of the way, but then your interview will take you to the job. So that's the thing. And then know what sets you apart from everyone else. And so when you're starting to move into these new positions, know what you bring to the table, stand firm on what you bring to the table, and know that you could hire me and you could get the best thing going since fried chicken, or you could hire somebody else and you could settle for what they got. And be that confident and know that that is who you are and that's what you bring. Once you know what you're capable of and the light that you have, nobody can take that away from you, and all opportunities will be open to you. So that's my advice.
I'll go next. So, I mean, the panelists that have gone so far, they've pretty much covered the basics, but I also want to add, for those that are sophomores and juniors and even seniors, definitely seek out internships, because those will get you your foot in the door for one, and then also you'll have things to put on your resume, and you'll be able to start gaining experience even before you have an actual job or even before you started your career. Also, like they were saying before, relationships are super important, because most of the time it's not what you know, it's who you know. I'm sure you guys have heard that 1,000 times, but it's true. If you have a mentor or just somebody that can speak for you, you'll be able to get yourself in a lot of different positions that maybe you wouldn't if you didn't have someone, you know, looking out for you. And then also, as you're going into your job or when you're in the workplace, make sure you are nice and you speak and you're presentable all the time, because you never know who's walking past you. I remember one time I was at work and the CEO just walked through the cafeteria, just plain as day, just walked through, and we were like, wow, like he's just walking around like he owns the place. And it's because he does. So you just never know who's gonna walk past you. You never know who you're gonna meet or who you're gonna run into. So always be on your A game. Always be ready to, sell yourself to whoever you're speaking to, because you just never know what they can do.
Did we get everyone for that last question? Would anyone like to have any final comments? We do have one question from a student. Would anybody like to comment on this last question before we move forward?
Yes, I have a couple of things I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
Yes, not in any particular order, but I'll kind of caveat off what Deacon Owens, Brother Owens said, the power of prayer. I just can't iterate and reiterate the importance of prayer and praying in the environment. And no, in one sense, I'm not politically correct, but I just want to encourage you in that area. the power of prayer. And it's so important praying for those that you're with. And humility in the workforce. Humility has a sweet smell to it when we humble ourselves and remain teachable and share with others that we're willing to really learn from them. That's a wonderful trait. And it does have a sweet smell to it when people are humble. Also, you've got to be a reader. You've got to be a reader. You've got to stay abreast of what's in your professional field. I read consistently because I have to write policy. So to write policy, you have to know what's going on, the change in regulations, rules, and so on and so forth. So you have to be an aggressive reader to stay abreast of what's going or the changes in your different career field. Also, I want to give you two quick things. First of all, your gifts make room for you and bring you before great men and women. Many of you are gifted in so many areas. And again, I'm just honored to even be on this call with all you bright young people. I can just see it in your faces. Your gifts make room for you and bring you before great people. And you'll have opportunities to excel if you just work hard, determination, respect, and many of the other things that the group has shared with you. You don't have to be afraid. There are great opportunities out there. They're calling your name. Trust me. Anybody that's worked with a Fortune 500 company or worked in the corporate environment, they're always looking for sharp talent. They call it talent management. They're looking for you. Always remember that. So they're great opportunities for you. And Murray really equips you, and I'm saying this lightly or flippantly, it really equips you to be competitive in your career field. Okay, just want you to know that. And then last but not least, each one of you fearfully and wonderfully made, and you really are a marvelous work. And there are great opportunities for you out there. And I'm so excited for you. So be encouraged. You don't have to be afraid. Be encouraged. There are great opportunities for you out there.
Thank you, Colonel Sanders. I actually wrote down teachable and I circled it like 3 times. And as soon as after I wrote that down, you started talking about it. So I'm glad you mentioned that because we don't know everything. We have to be teachable. So let me get this question in before we close out here. There's a question from a student. The question is, what would you recommend if you are having trouble with your supervisor's leadership style? What would you recommend if you're having trouble with your supervisor's leadership style? We can have a few of you comment on this. I see some smiles.
Dr. Alicia, I guess I'll start. I think what is critically important, and I know several of us are older, but we were younger at one point in time too. But I think it's important to understand what your job responsibilities are. You should have a job description for the task that you were hired for. And there should also be within your organization an ethics opportunity, some type of informal or formal feedback process where if you feel that the supervisor has taken their responsibility over you to a level that is inappropriate, you should seek out those avenues first. Now, before you do that, it's important to have a face-to-face discussion with your supervisor. But then you should document date and time the various complaints that you feel have been directed toward you. Then have that discussion with the supervisor. And if that doesn't yield any results, then you should go to the next level. That supervisor should have someone over them. But you need to follow up with your HR department if there is an HR department, because what you don't want to have is a he say, she say, because in that type of scenario, you won't come out on a good side. You won't come out on the favorable side. So just always be respectful, but make sure you fully understand what your job duties are, what your job responsibilities are. Have that sit down conversation with that supervisor, document it, and then seek out these other avenues for you to air your grievance, so to speak. That's just very important, because it's when we lash out and then when we start bringing other people in, and when I say bringing other people in, I'm talking about talking to coworkers who, that's the situation where you don't want to be, because you don't need to rally people behind your position. You just need to get relief from what you perceive or what you feel is a supervisor that is not being fair with you.
I think that relates to what Colonel Sanders was saying about being humble and also being teachable. A lot of times as young professionals, we'll go into a place expecting our supervisors' leadership styles to be very similar to what we're used to in the past. And having different leadership styles allows us some opportunities of growth within ourselves. But as Regent Owens also said, it also allows some opportunities for us to learn how to conflict manage in the workplace. And so in those situations, like, you really have to do what's best for you. Try to take a step back and say, hey, is it their leadership style that I'm not agreeing with, or is it that I'm not used to this leadership style? And how can I grow from this, or how can I manage this in a way that's conducive for myself, but also conducive for them? And have that conversation with them, as Regent Owen said. And if things truly don't progress, that's when I would say you go ahead and start moving things up. But I always recommend just to take a step back, take yourself out of the situation and say, like, hey, can I learn something from this moment? Or is this a moment that can develop me even more as a professional?
And I can throw this out there as far as dealing with conflict resolution, because if you work for any period of time, as any of my fine colleagues on the call will tell you, we've all had to go through some form of conflict and conflict resolution with either a supervisor or supervisor. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the workforce when we deal with people, because all of us have our own idiosyncrasies, if you will. But I will share this with you through my experiences as being an employee and also being a leader and quote unquote being a boss, if you will. I've learned you can agree to disagree with people without being disagreeable. Let me say that again. You can agree to disagree without being disagreeable, i.e. humility makes a difference in saying that you're really trying to work hard with the person to make it a win-win for both of you. Help me to help us so that we can have a win-win when we leave, and really mean that. I mean, and sit there and then begin to take notes and listen to the person actively to see if there is something that you or I are not doing to meet the mission and the goals based on your job position. And I hope that's helpful for everybody, because you got to do a lot of introspection. I always say when you point one finger at a person, there are always three of us pointing back at us, three of them pointing at us. So we have to do some self-introspection and self-evaluation even before we go to those kinds of meetings. And I always go with a cool head. Don't go talk when you're angry. That's not a good idea. Let me say that one more time, because emotions can get out of control, and we don't want to go in and discuss those kinds of issues when we're not calm and we're reserved. All right, and trust me, you can make. I've had some tumultuous bosses. For those who have served in the military, sometimes people just aren't nice. I'll put it that way. And Colonel Boykin knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. They can be cantankerous. But that being stated, even in those situations, I've learned to humble myself, listen a lot, take notes, and then ask those questions. How can I make this a win for us, boss, so that we both can win? And it's amazing how that helps a lot of times. All right, I'll stop there.
Any others? And sometimes it's just a learning opportunity. People aren't always going to behave like we want them to behave. And sometimes you can study leadership styles, and sometimes that's a learning. It might be learning how not to be when you're a supervisor. So
yes, ma'am.
well, I've learned what not to do based on a lot of supervisors I've had in my lifetime. So any other comments on that final question before we wrap up? Colonel Boykin, did you have a comment for that? I don't know if I saw you mute or no. Okay.
I think they covered it all. I would just only add communicate.
Yes.
Communicate. Even with that supervisor, you may be able to communicate with him and tell him that you don't perform well in this type of fashion. You know, give you the mission, let you go execute it. Because you don't know who they've had to deal with in the past. But if you just communicate with them, and Mr. Owens laid it out, the chain of command to utilize, and make sure you do that.
And I think what ties into what Colonel Sanders said and what you said, Colonel Boykin, is halt. Don't do anything, right? Or go confront somebody when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And I'm sure you've heard that.
True.
A lot of wisdom in that, Doc. You hit it right on the head. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. I think we don't have any more questions in the chat. So I would like to give a special thanks to the panelists and Dr. SG. I don't know if you want to close this out. Thank you, panelists. Yes. We really appreciate your time this evening and your wisdom and the information that you gave to our students. So thank you very much. Dr. SG.
Okay, I'll be real brief here. We're right on exactly an hour from the time we started the program officially. And we want to thank everyone, all of our panelists. We thank you so much for coming out, sharing your wisdom. For those of you that are in Fly, this week at our monthly meeting, Ms. Wimberly will be doing a presentation with the group on this Thursday, rather, I think, on Fly. I believe we've got that secured. I want to make sure we've got that before I speak it, because she'll correct me. I know that. So
it is confirmed.
It's confirmed. Thank you. We'll be coming in and working with you guys a little bit more in depth. As we know, the students that are in Fly, you are really, really close to experiencing the things that we've talked about this evening. And so we're going to take it a step further for you, have someone come in. And so that'll be how we'll be spending our monthly meetings. So make sure you are there for that. She's got a great presentation in store, and I'm excited to hear that.
I'll be very, very brief. Panelists, thank you. There was a lot of wisdom there tonight for all of us. And students, you've got a real treat tonight, and I hope you took notes, at least mental notes, from our distinguished panelists. And have a good weekend, everyone. It's good to see you.
Yes, and I'll be equally brief, because there's much I can add to this great panel and discussion we had. We attend all these events, and I take pages of notes. I took notes again tonight. As Dr. Alicia Carthel said, it's a teachable moment. I always want to take advantage of that. But outstanding program, great advice, great insights, and I learned a great deal tonight. So I want to thank all the panelists, and again, thank the Office of Multicultural Initiatives for providing us these many opportunities. Everyone have a good weekend.